Packy Naughton.
Packy Naughton.
Hey, I'm a Packy Naughton.
Is that a Peaky Blinders character?
Sounds like it. That's good. A Packy Naughton.
Packy Naughton.
What's a Packy Naughton?
That sounds like something Chris Farley would say. Tommy want wingy. Packy Naughton.
Packy Naughton. All right, so can we share this stuff and then we're gonna do it live.
We're gonna do it live, boy.
Yeah, gonna go live here in a minute. What y'all think about that? What y'all think about that now?
Meet me outside. How about that? Packy Naughton.
We're gonna actually physically do. There's a lot of people on Periscope jumping in.
You know how many miles I'm gonna have to run for this goddamn team now,
dude? You are gonna look like Tristan McKenzie.
Yeah, I'm gonna look like Billy Hamilton at the end of the year. It's ridiculous.
There's no chance. How many games are left of the Diamondback season?
Yeah, like 28, something like that.
Over under, they lose 24.
That's it. 10 miles a game. That's 280 miles. Might as well just start. Just get on the treadmill and just stop when you're at 200 something miles.
You should just walk to San Diego just now.
Look like goddamn Forrest Gump, dude. You know, running on empty.
Diamondbacks also sending money. All right, so we are. This is going to be this week's episode. We're going to do it live. We're going to do it here in a second, the whole way. So, if y'all want, you can make comments below and we can add it. And pretty much the entirety of this is going to be talking about the trade deadline, MLB Trade Deadline special, friendos, and inside look at the ITL recording. So a lot of people checking in on because it's on Periscope and it's on YouTube right now. So you can
what up, Periscope peeps? What's going on?
Yeah, you guys, the Twitter people are they're fronting it right now because you can watch on Twitter just
front end
easily. All right, should we go? What shirt are you wearing?
That is the Keep It 37.
Okay, always some ITL swag.
That's right. Well, I don't buy shirts, so these are the only ones that fit me. Are the ITL ones that I most recently bought in the last 2 years.
I like it. All right. So you guys get the inside look. Please still download the podcast. Please do that as we're going to start the open here. Get us the downloads. Shall we go? And like I said, pop in comments and we'll bring them up in the pod. Shall we do it?
Let's roll.
Okay. I should play around with this little video thing. Check this out, everybody. What is up, friendos, and welcome in. It is the In This League Fantasy Baseball Podcast, MLB Trade Deadline Special. It's Bogman. It's Welsh. They're all gone. They're all gone. Every single one of them. That's what we're going to be talking about the entire episode, literally dedicated to going over all the trades, which might even still be, I think most of them have kind of sprinkled in here. We're getting you guys this right after.
We're 30 minutes past the deadline. So if something pops up, we'll talk about it, but everything should be pretty much reported and done and over with by now.
Yeah.
So.
And, usually we take a lot of different fronts. Usually this episode is already available on Monday, but we would have been silly gooses to have done this on Monday night and just not get through this entire mess, especially all the gifts that kept on giving throughout the day. Way more trades than we possibly could have imagined happened on the deadline special. The names, the names are they're here and there. I think there were two or three big fantasy names that were actually traded. I just think overall it was more than a majority of people really would have thought happened. So we are going to spend probably the heavy portion of the episode just going through the trades, implications, depth charts. I'll talk to you a little bit about prospect stuff, though I am planning to do an emergency Prospect One podcast, which is specifically and heavily focused on going through all dim prospects. So you guys can check that out as it has been an emergency podcast day. But since you are hanging out with us, yes, I said you're hanging out with us because we've decided to do this one live. We said, F it. we're going live. And we got this bad boy live up on Periscope and YouTube because we're masochists. I'm sure it's going to go well.
There won't be any issues at all, right?
Yeah. I like already. Hey, Yaz for judge in the game. So already, I'm sure this is going to go like super, super good. It's not going to hurt our feelings, or it's all going to go relatively well.
Yeah. The last time I was on Periscope, no one told me I'd have a stroke and die because I'm so fat. So that's
good. Yeah, people are fun, but we can boot people off. So that's gonna.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That'll be kind of fun. So quick trigger finger, going to jump on that. If you guys want, come and check us out over at inthisleague.com. Before we get into the crux of the episode, join up. We've actually got a little banner on here. Join up on the Patreon, and friends, you can get all the stuff. We've got the prospect ranks, which Jesus, I don't know. I get like a little bit of a high, to be honest with you, when like all these prospects are moving teams and I get to go to my list. It's like a toy, because I get to go and play with the toy, and I get to change the team, and I get to go kind of see the rank and reevaluate. All of that is actually going to be updated tomorrow, or as probably a majority of the people might be even listening after the fact. It's going to happen on Tuesday. So September 1st, 2nd is when the new ranks are going to be updated. Dynasty, I've been going through prospect. We got the group me rooms. We've got the secret shows. We do live streams like we're kind of doing right now.
I get a high from gummies. So that's where I get my high. So
you too. It's 10 milligram Bogman as we've established before. Right. But you guys can come and check us out in inthisleague.com. You want to support, and you can wait a day, especially if you're listening to this on the 31st. Wait till September 1st. Brand new month. Comedy secret show, all the stuff. We would appreciate it. And we got some new, I will tell you, we've got some new swag and some new designs that are out there for some of that stuff we've been talking about. I told you our boy Jesse's been working on some stuff. Actually, can I let me see if I can present one to you without giving away.
I haven't seen all the stuff. That's been more you and Jag working on that stuff. Obviously, I'm not artistic at all.
Okay, so let me throw one at you. When we got a radio show that is on terrestrial radio in San Diego, Slam Diego, and on Sports Grid Radio, and sometimes we broadcast them. And our boy Jag dropped in. He goes, "What's up, Wab?" And I was like, "Wab." I'm like, "Is that like WAP?" And he's like, "Yes." And he's like, "Actually, my wife loves it, and she's actually starting to like you guys more now that we've gone with WAB." So I'm kind of loving that little bit of that Welsh and Bogman. So
that's right.
I have been working with our boy Jesse, and I'm going to share this with you because this is the first time you've seen this. This is a design.
I don't know if this is going to be the first time I've seen this, but
okay.
Probably a lot of it.
There could be a parody song that's going to come with it. This could be a shirt. It'll definitely be a sticker. I present to you, Bogman, the official WAB logo.
Yep. Love it. Love it.
It's in the design of WAP. If you know what WAP is, I'm not going to tell you. It's got a little Welsh and Bogman. And who's that at the bottom?
That's Captain. That is Captain. And
I figured the cat would make sense since we're not saying WAP, but the cat would still work with WAP.
Exactly. And so Jag I didn't get the In This League Presents a WAB, but he did send me the cat photo, and he said, "Hey, will this work for Captain?" And his eyes were green. I said, "Well, his eyes are yellow, but other than that, perfect." And then he switched his eyes to yellow. So it's perfect.
So if you want, you can have a shirt right there. You get a little bit of WAB in your life. And I had to listen to the song over the weekend to think, is there like a parody in there or something like that? And
that's a pretty good comment.
So much fun up in here. So much fun up in here. So maybe a shirt, maybe some other stuff. And we've got other things that are going on. Shouldn't the cat be faced the other way? Yeah. It would have been more appropriate if it was the cat's butthole.
Yeah, exactly. He's starting his OnlyFans. So
for how every podcast that Bogman and I do, I'm surprised Captain actually hasn't shown up here on this one. So, all right, let's get to this bad boy. You guys can find us on Twitter at Is It the Welsh at Bogman Sports. And I suppose you could even go check out the Periscope here because I think it's up for a little bit. So if you guys want to go rewatch some of that, it'll also be available on our YouTube to watch after the fact. But please check out the podcast. That's the place that pays proverbial bills. Not really.
That's right.
That's
right.
Like a Carl's Jr. bill. Have you gone there lately?
No.
I think you should go there. I think
Why?
You should go.
No, well, I'm doing the work to get rid of the Carl's Jr. What the hell are you talking about?
I mean, I would say, okay, so you're not eating fast food?
I'm not eating Carl's Jr.
So you're not eating any fast food because you're doing all this really hard work?
I'm eating fast food, but I'm not eating Carl's Jr. And I'm not eating as much, and I cut sodas out. Remember, I'm doing the the crystal light bit. This looks like pee, by the way.
It looks like you're pissed in that bottle.
Yeah, it is. And I didn't realize this is helping me with, the caffeine headaches, that it's peach mango and it has caffeine in it. So, but it has more caffeine than soda does. So I'm like, starting to get riled up when I start drinking these at night. And that's why I've been up till like 4 o'clock in the morning recently. It's not been the best.
You are becoming more like Bert Kreischer as the day goes on. You're like, I got this 64 ounce of
I'm not drinking Kool-Aid. I mean, these are,
I'm sorry,
oh yeah, okay. Well, hold on. Let me get you the sugar. Total sugar 0 grams. So it's not like Kool-Aid at all. So,
okay. Calories?
Yeah, 5. 5
How
per
many
pack.
Of those?
About 6 or 7 a day.
Per day. Okay.
Yeah.
6 or 7
they're not cheap. This is $4. Because they're not cheap. So
that price of health, man. So I'm just saying there's a lot to celebrate. There's a lot of positive things to take on that we're going to be talking about here with the trade deadline. The Diamondbacks made some moves, and an arch nemesis of Bogman. Actually, somebody, maybe I could even on this, I could pull up the YouTube video that we have available of a certain video that we may have posted about you and Archie Bradley, because Archie Bradley is no longer a Diamondback. So let's get into all of it. Trade deadline. Thank you, Grant. I like this. Can you talk sports already? Jesus. We could.
Thanks, Grant. Appreciate that.
See you, buddy. All right. We are going to talk sports, and we're going to do it right now. Let's go. All right. We got lots of trades, and we have got a whole bunch to go through. The San Diego Slam Diego Padres. Absolutely. I mean, what's the word that you go with? I don't want to say shocked. I don't know where to go with what they did, because I think at the end of the day, what San Diego did was what they needed to do. And what was a lot of people had predicted that they were going to make a splash. I had said it on the radio over the weekend that I felt they needed to be the most aggressive team at this deadline, because they're close and their offense is fantastic. They needed to push their way through, and they didn't come up short, and they made multiple blockbuster trades.
How far behind? I know they're way behind the Dodgers, because everyone is. I have a hard time looking at the standings, because just seeing the D-backs dip and dip and dip. They're 5 games below, but they're still 6 games over 500.
Yeah,
dude, the Dodgers are 26-10.
Well, San Diego's the second best team in the NL right now. They're 21-15, where the Dodgers are 26-10. Yeah, the division itself, though, the Rockies are 17-17, Giants are 17-19. And the Giants are still only 9 games behind the Dodgers at this point. So it's like a really weird season. There's only 3 teams with 20 wins right now. I would not have been able to guess this. I didn't realize the Cubs have chalked up 20 wins on the season. They're 20-14 right now. Kind of why they're making a few of these moves. But the
Padres, I mean, the trading for Clevenger is just so huge, especially trading for Clevenger and not having, like, the first thing I read when I woke up was, it's no Gore, it's no Patino, it's not Campusano, it's not any of their big prospects either that they traded to get him. So it's such a win for them, I thought. This is what happens when you build up that prospect base for so long. You can now make deals like this that just make them so much better.
Well, there's so many teams that, have failed in the market of being able to, like, dip into international, like the Baltimore Orioles have been somebody that have failed miserably. The Marlins weren't doing a great job about it for a decent amount of time. And having a robust draft, so being able to be ahead of your game in the draft portion, being able to take advantage of trades and have an international market, you can get ahead of the curve by, like an exponential amount. And look at, like, what you just said with the Padres. The Padres, the only guy that they moved out of their top, at least if I look at, like, my top 100 on their roster, was Taylor Trammell, who we'll mention in a second. But Jake Cronenworth, Rake, has been insane this year. And he has boosted his prospect value up to a level that I think I still have a hard time comprehending. And I know it's short sample size, and this is something I've been battling with, that, like, I feel like this season has been 3.5 months through. But it's been like 100 at bats. You know what I'm saying? It hasn't come remotely close to that. It feels so much more. And you try not to lose your mind about what Cronenworth is doing in this short stint, but he has maintained this average. He's hitting the ball really hard. So it's hard. It's hard to find the balance. I'm a believer is where I'm going with it. I'm a believer. So Cronenworth is a guy that coming up to the deadline had kind of already supplanted or could be the replacement in the lineup for Taylor Trammell. And then the Padres go out and they made moves across their system that still doesn't deplete them from being a top five overall system. They traded from depth across the board. So let's start with the Padres trade. The first big one, the blockbuster one, is they acquire Mike Clevenger. They got Greg Allen, who is a San Diego guy and a player to be named later. They traded to the Indians Cal Quantrill, Josh Naylor, Joey Cantillo, Gabriel Arias, and Austin Hedges. And there's just like a lot of stuff in there. Interesting. Josh Naylor is now going to go play with his brother. He's going to be Bo. It plays for the Indians. So both Canadian-born hitters. They're both going to go play in the same spot. But starting with Clevenger, this was the move. You and I have been talking about this for a couple of weeks. I had a feeling they were going to move one. I thought it was going to be the inverse, though. I thought they would bring up Clevenger, put Plesac down, and then they would move Plesac in a decent deal. It was the opposite. They ended up keeping Plesac down. They moved Mike Clevenger.
Is this enough for Clevenger? If you're the Tribe, you're the Tribe. Yeah, you're pissed at Clevenger for all this stuff. You want to get rid of him, and teams know that. So that works to their advantage after an incident like this happens. So knowing you have to take a little off the top just for that. Is it still not enough, or no? Do you think maybe given the circumstances?
Fine, I mean, if the circumstances are bigger than we know, like we know like on the sides that, he hurt his teammates, the level of comfort and trust that they had in him was kind of taken away. And Oliver Perez had suggested that he would just opt out. If that's more serious than maybe we're really thinking it is, and probably should be, I guess, because he was sent down to the camp, then maybe what they got was enough, because they got a haul. And like the big thing I kept seeing all freaking day was nonstop about quantity over quality. It's the thing I hate the most in fantasy. I hate quantity over quality more than anything else. The people that are like, well, I want this really amazing guy. How about these three guys? No. How about this fourth guy if I add him? No, I don't want any of these players. What if I add this fifth guy to all of these losers? No, I don't. Like, the thing that works in favor, and it's a little bit different in real baseball, Boggs, is that you have a much higher percentage and opportunity for something to work out. And you're just trying, throw a couple darts. If two of those darts work out in 2 years, you take the kind of brunt of it right now. You get to go and be like, well, look at Joey Cantillo. Cantillo is now a solid number 3 in our rotation. Cal Quantrill, maybe he's in the bullpen, and Josh Naylor is getting serviceable at bats. You can justify where they were at. And I think that's kind of how the trade looks, because I don't like Josh Naylor that much. Yeah. I like Joey Cantillo probably the most out of all of these. I've spent some time with Cal Quantrill. I think he's a really smart dude. And he had a save this year, and he's got a decent arsenal of stuff, and he comes from good bloodlines. So you can get okay with him. I think he could go, fifth starter or bullpen. But
I like he comes from good bloodlines. He's good breeding stock. That Cal Quantrill.
I'm forgetting his dad's name now.
I don't remember his dad.
Hold on, I gotta look. Cal Quantrill. I'm completely forgetting. It's pissing me off. Oh, Paul Quantrill. Yeah,
Paul Quantrill. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, now you know. Now,
of course.
Now
Paul Quantrill. Yeah, of course.
So
he was on the team, in
with the guys, the people in Canada,
right?
With the Nailers. I'm going to talk about the prospects over in Prospect 1, but Cantillo is probably the guy that helps now. Quantrill, I think, is going to be in some portion of their rotation or bullpen. Naylor, they already said, is going to be the left fielder, and Hedges, has an opportunity to help now. Good framer. So they got 3 pieces that can help now, but none are that super exciting. None good fantasy options, and long-term Cantillo. It
feels like this is dump Clevenger more than anything, right? Like this is get this guy off our team, but how about the fit in San Diego for Clevenger? Obviously, I think the first couple starts should be pretty strong. I mean, specifically because none of those teams have seen Clevenger this year because they're playing in their own zones and all that stuff in the Central. So Clevenger should put up at least a couple good starts from the jump. And he's also a great pitcher, but I mean, just in the immediate future, his starts should be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, he was a little bit wonkier this year. Not that he's got, a whole bunch under him, like 22 innings, but he was walking more, striking out less. I mean, this team does wonders with pitchers, but so do the Padres. I mean, Jesus, there's a place you could hope that he could find even more success with. It's the Padres, but I don't know. He's about a mile per hour down on his fastball this year. He was also using it a decent amount less. It was kind of in favor of throwing more cutters, I guess, as I'm kind of looking at his pitch mix. His slider's a little bit up, throwing it a little bit harder. His cutter, he was throwing a decent amount more. And I wonder if they would cut that. I wonder if the Padres would maybe, hey, let's get back to basics or something like that. But it's a no-brain place at this point. Where do you remember where you had Clevenger preseason?
I don't remember. Yeah, pretty high. I know that, but I don't remember where.
Yeah, I mean, he had the injury stuff. I would want to say, I mean, he has a chance with that run support, and especially with the system they've been using with pitchers. I mean, he's easily a top 10 option rest of the year, don't you think?
Yeah. I think he probably is, especially with the way the pitching has gone this year and all the injuries and stuff. I mean, Clevenger should be real strong. So I mean, great spot for him to land in.
Yeah, dude.
And hopefully he can just get his, get everything back on track from his screwy issue that he had this year.
I mean, just a change of scenery. It's a good place. Change of scenery. You get to go there with Paddock. You're not, not that he was never necessarily one of the big pitchers. He was one of the bigger personalities, but Paddock is a pretty big personality. You've got Lamet, who's been in there, incredible. We'll see if Mackenzie Gore. I mean, this probably, another way to look at this, and I'm not sure everybody is, or maybe they are, and I'm just missing it, is this might spell maybe a little bit more of a difficult situation for Mackenzie Gore to get time this year. And he might be, like, see ya. Like, don't worry about it anymore. Don't bother.
Well, what would you put, just obviously we're not going to hold you to this, but percentage that Gore gets called up this year? What would you put it at right now? And what was it before this move?
Oh God. I mean, before the move, I would have said it was like 85%. I was
going to say like 80. Yeah.
I think it's still close. I would probably go with like
50.
60%. I mean, here's the big question. Do they give Luis Patino an opportunity to get in the rotation? Because Kyle Davies is like still the number 5.
Zach Davies. Yeah.
Zach Davies. Yeah. Kyle. Who am I thinking of? Kyle Davies.
Well, Kyle Davies is a pitcher too, but Zach Davies is the guy they have. So
it depends. Like, do you keep going with Davies? Does Patino get the opportunity, or due to Patino's age, do they want to keep him in the role that he's at? And when the next opportunity comes up, are they going to drop that to Mackenzie Gore? Adrian Morejon is somebody that they've already got locked into the roster, and he played really well off of that start. I just think it's super minimal, where Gore could have been an important cog. I'm not sure it's anything more than what like happened with Patino. So I'm less inclined on Mackenzie. I think like they want him up to help, but it could be more in like a piggyback role, maybe him and Morejon, maybe him and Patino, something like that, or piggybacking that. I just don't know if they'd let him unleash like what Sixto Sanchez.
So this is what they have on Roster Resource. Again, Roster Resource, the best resource for us, but not always perfect. Lamet, Clevenger, Davies, Paddock, and Richards. So that's the starting 5. So maybe Richard goes out, or Paddock's had a bad year. So
give it to me one more time.
It was so it's Lamet, Clevenger, Davies, Paddock, Richards.
Okay, is that okay? That just must be the current order because Davies is like a number 3 or anything like that.
Well, yeah. That's just what they have going on right now. So, and then they've got some injured guys too, but Morejon is hurt. Anderson Espinosa, but Espinosa had Tommy John.
Well, I mean, he's not an option. He was throwing at their camp not too long ago. Like Morejon would be the guy, and like they bring Baez back up and forth. I just think it's less likely that Gore is crazy impactful. Not that so much that he comes up, but like look at Patino. Everyone's excited about Patino coming up, and Patino, he's been okay. He's been not good. He's had like when he falls apart pretty hard. I just wonder if they get him in a rotation. That's what Clevenger does.
I feel like they should put him in they should put Patino in the bullpen if they're going to keep him on the roster.
That's what he has.
Well, I mean, keep him there. Not, I wouldn't move Patino into a starting spot if one of these guys falters and not bring up Gore because of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So,
and that's what I was
see if
getting at.
that
Like,
works.
due to his
Yeah.
age, the guy's not even 21 years old, I don't think, or
Right,
maybe
right.
he just turned. That, like, you keep him in the bullpen in the role he's been acclimated to. They've been stretching out Mackenzie Gore, and Gore was working with Richards in camp when I was down there. They continue stretching him out, and they give Gore the opportunity. You know, they've got an offense and a defense that can support Mackenzie Gore. You know, they're not liable out there with guys like Josh Naylor in the field. So they've got a great defense, a great offense. And Mackenzie Gore can go deeper into games, and he's got a 3+ arsenal. So at that same point, that could be a real big positive if they don't want to go with Davies and Gore can help them. Clevenger's just one more reason why the bet on him makes a little bit less sense. So then the other trade they made, which this one just didn't make sense to me. I mean, it didn't. The Padres moved Taylor Trammell, Ty France, Andres Munoz, Luis Torrens to the Mariners, essentially for Austin Nola. They also got Austin Adams, relief pitcher, and Dan Altavia. But they essentially traded a whole lot of we're going to stop working on these guys' depth for Austin Nola, who they obviously hated their catchers. That was
they were bad. Hedges and Mejia, like, just offensively were horrific. They were real bad. It was like even like we kept losing games then, but Brenly and Burt would be like, well, a catcher for the Padres is up, so this is probably an out. Like, it was.
Well, he has been bad. He has been trash. He's been the framing. They spent so much time with him in the camps trying to get through that, wasn't working. He's also not hitting, which, you know, he was an offensive catcher. So I'm actually surprised they just didn't move on from him. So they move on from Mejia with an opportunity, and they hit both points. They said, we're going to reestablish this thing. Even though what I think is interesting is think about some of the success. Paddock has struggled maybe a tiny bit. Lamet has been good. Richards has been pretty solid. Please don't die. You're going to die off your pee water? All right. Hopefully you're not going to die. Are you alive?
I'm trying to make it here. So
okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to highlight
wrong pipe. Woo.
I didn't mean to highlight it. It was just like, I was.
Thanks for the play-by-play. While I'm over here, my eyes are watering. I'm trying not to croak. So you're like, you're not going to die, are you?
Bogman to the left.
It's been a great day. It's been a great day. So
I don't think Bog's going to make it to the 7th inning. They might have to pull out the stretcher. Yeah. All right. What I was getting at was look at the catching situation with the pitchers. That, like, Paddock has struggled a little bit, but the rest of the staff has been pretty decent. You've completely revamped the entire thing that you hope Jason Castro is going to be able to control these guys, and Nola really offers them like utility, which Cronenworth does, and they just kind of revamped this thing. I would just wonder what the pitching results are ultimately going to be, but they paid a massive price, dude. And I will tell you right now, the guy that I think could be the biggest impact out of this entire trade, and I tweeted about it, is Ty France. I think Ty France, I really would have loved to have seen Kyle Seager. There was a rumor right up to the deadline that Seager was going to get moved. I would have liked to have seen that happen because it's just like one more opportunity. But Ty France on the year, played in 20 games, had just over 60 at-bats, hitting 300, just under a 400 OBP, just under a 500 slugging. So, I mean, he was towing the line of a 3.45. His K percentage is about what it was last year, maintainable, mid-20s, but he is upped his walk percentage. And I think he's really good. I think he strikes the ball. I think there's power in there. And this is the guy that I would have been putting some fab on over the weekend. I missed him in the RotoWire Dynasty Invitational because I didn't even realize he was a free agent, but I picked him up and put some money on it. Yeah, you weren't invited to RotoWire Dynasty.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. So,
and I put some money on that on a couple other spots because something we're going to talk about in the next ITL episode later in the week, which our boy Mike Curlin is joining, was it sparked from another player with Jesse Winker looking at like his hard hit and soft hit percentage. Well, you know, Shed Long has been struggling, and Shed is one of the leaders in soft hit percentage on the year. He is hitting everything.
Everybody loves Shed, but Shed he might be the worst player in baseball getting regular at bats right now. So,
I love the guy, so I don't even like going down that route. But Ty France is the inverse of that. Ty is a really good defender. He was playing a lot of third with the Padres in spring training, working there. He can play second. He can play first. Dude, he's like a Jake Cronenworth light. Everything that Jake Cronenworth is doing is what I thought we were going to see from Ty France this year. And now the Mariners they already have one of those in like Dylan Moore. So if Ty France gets the opportunity, that's a dude I'm speculating on the rest of the year. And I like what Nola did is cool, but I don't think Nola's value changes a whole bunch from the Mariners to here. He's just still as valuable as he was before. But Ty France is the guy that the opportunity ups. And frankly, we might see some Taylor Trammell.
I was going to say, how far away is he? Because the Mariners are going full youth movement here. You know, they've been doing that. Kyle Lewis batting in the middle of the lineup and all the other young studs there. I mean, you know, even with Shed Lewis not playing well, still getting playing time. Yeah, Shed Long, excuse me. You know, even with him not playing well, he's getting time. So it would not be surprising at all to see Taylor Trammell get some time at some point, right?
No, and again, I'm going to do an emergency Prospect One podcast to really focus on the prospects, but you know, it's not great that an analytical team like the Padres picked up Taylor Trammell, and that's exciting to me that there was a lot that they could do with it, but then they moved right on from him. Like, was it something that they thought they just couldn't change and they don't believe in the hit tool? 3 teams in 3 years. He's a great defender, and he could be out there right now. I just don't know where the bat's going to be, but I think he'll probably get a little bit of a look. Maybe, you know, I don't know.
The Mariners are like the opposite of the Pirates. Like the Pirates love to hold their guys down as long as possible. And the Mariners like, let's see what they got. Come on, let's go.
I mean, this is one of those things where it's like, you know what? Like, get him out there. Get him out there. See what you got. See if there's anything you want. And I agree. Someone just posted on this that they'd rather see Kelnick, which I 1000% agree with and would love to see. But the team has already openly said that, you know, they want to develop Kelnick in the camp. It's manipulation stuff. Like the guy could be out there right now. Kelnick is an aggressive, smart player. Defensively, he's fine. His bat could play. His bat's probably going to play better than Trammell. But what I'm getting at is maybe they made this move on a small acquisition of Trammell. See what you have in him and see what he plays into the future. Because next year you can have probably Kelnick breaking camp. You've got Kyle Lewis. You want to see, is Taylor Trammell the guy while we develop Julio Rodriguez for a year and just see how it all plays out? So I think Trammell gets a little bit of a run. I'm not optimistic. Way more optimistic about Ty France.
And these first 2 trades aren't even the ones that I want to talk about with you either. It's the Trevor Rosenthal for Edward Olivares. I love this deal so much for both teams. I mean, Rosenthal finally throwing well after like 3 years of breaking down and being terrible and all that stuff, finally throwing well again, gets flipped to San Diego, who obviously lost Kirby Yates. Drew Pomeranz, I think, just got activated off the IL today, if I'm remembering that correctly. But now that, you know, they go to a strength, on the back end, and your boy Olivares should see immediate playing time because they don't have anything in Kansas City. So I love that move for them.
Yeah, I like that too. I wanted to point out, this is a funny note. I just saw Jen Mueller just posted that Jerry Dipoto, this is on Taylor Trammell, said Dipoto said that Taylor Trammell punked him when he called to welcome him to the organization, and Jerry thought it was awesome. Trammell pretended on the call that no one from the Padres told him about the trade. So he was messing with him the whole time. I love that. I love Taylor, and you could get it from my interview I did with him like a while back.
You know what I bet happened? I bet the GM just said, "Hey, get to the sports. All right, don't say anything else. Just
stick to sports." Did he tell him?
That's right. Yeah.
So back to Olivares. Yeah, Olivares. I like this better than like Franchi because Olivares can. I was about to say he could hit, but he really hasn't been hitting. He's got power. He can. There's speed in there. They moved away Brett Phillips. What is their? See what their depth chart looks like right now. I haven't even looked post these.
Well, Alex Gordon is one of the worst hitters in baseball. Like,
but
Ted Long can duke it out for who's worst.
But they just never give up on that dude. So I mean, they still got slated Merrifield, Dozier. See, Dozier's going to first. You've got that spot in right field that's opened up. Olivares is perfect for that spot, and I'm hopeful. They pop him in there. And because he's a power speed combo guy. So I would bet on him more than I would Franchi for the rest of the year. And then the other one, Jesus. Oh, are you betting on Rosenthal or Pagan in the short term for the saves right now? Do you think Rosenthal?
Yeah.
Really?
For me, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. Obviously they could do they could have Pagan and Pomeranz is going to come back at some point. Maybe they go back to him, so Rosenthal could be nothing. But I don't know. It kind of feels like, Rosenthal's got this momentum. Maybe just let him take the ninth.
Yeah, and I even see they've got Taylor Williams and Rosenthal listed in the closer spot right now. So, I'm not jumping to the wire for that. It was actually more going over to the Kansas City side and seeing if you can pick up either a Greg Holland or a Jesse Hahn, one of those guys. I picked up both in different spots. Hahn is the deeper play. Holland is the save play for, the 5 saves that they're going to probably get the entire season. And then the last one was, if you really think about the multitude of like what the Padres did, was they acquired Mitch Moreland from the Red Sox and they gave up Hudson Potts and Jason Rosario. And I've talked about both of those dudes with the Padres. All these guys, it's amazing. These are guys I've been following for like 2 or 3 years with the Padres and reporting back on, and they're all traded. They were all moved. None of them are options right now, but Moreland in that lineup. So here's what the Padres look like. Here's what we're going with. You've got Hosmer at first. Cronenworth is locked down the second spot. Obviously, Machado and Tatis. Your outfield is some combination of, you've obviously got Trent Grisham, who's locked in, and you've got Will Myers. They're going to churn out between Jurickson Profar, Jorge Mateo, maybe Greg Allen gets a little bit of a shot, and then Mitch Moreland is going to be your everyday DH. And they've kind of executed all of these other potential guys that could come up, like a Trammell, like a Naylor. There's no other, there's no other outfielder.
Nola's a little utility. Can he play? Has he played the outfield?
I think he's going to be the main catcher. I think Castro is going to be the alternative catcher. And on days like that, if they wanted to keep Nola bat
they've got him
live,
splitting like lefty for righties. Since Castro hits, lefty, they have him. And then for the lefties, they've got Nola listed on, on what do you call it? Russell Resource. But I'm just looking because he's played catcher, first and second. He's played 15 games, only 1 game in the outfield at right field. So he's played second 15 games, first 52, and catcher 30. So, he can play a little bit of everything.
Yeah, they could probably play around with that, just a little bit. So those are the Padres. I say like, oh, those Padres moves. They made 1 million of them. I mean, literally that entire
they were the biggest chunk of the show is the Padres.
Yeah, right? They literally that entire segment right there just solely dedicated to them because they made the biggest, most impactful moves, and they bring in Nola, who is probably a full-time, catcher for them, is the full-time catcher for them moving forward. They got a new catcher, a new closer, a new ace-ish type pitcher. You want to put him at 1 or 2 behind Paddock, doesn't really matter. They made big impactful moves that you can take home to the bank. So let's talk about all the rest though. When we come back off this quick little break here, we've got the Diamondbacks and we've got a whole bunch more right here on a little live edition of In This League. Hey, give me 1 second. Okay. You please the crowd, and then I'll be right back.
All right. I didn't see, by the way, Jag, is that happening? I didn't see Stripling. Did you get got, or is that something that's going to happen? Because I'm not seeing it anywhere. Which Mets trade, by the way, on that one? Yeah, I'm not seeing Chicken Strip getting flipped here. I think the Welsh had to go take a call for his business. So we're going to put the show on pause until he comes back. So you guys can just, pleasure us, Bogman. You guys can just throw out whatever, I'm looking for Rosenthal here. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, you sent it to me. The Dodgers announced to trade Ross Stripling to the Blue Jays for 2 players to be named later. Okay, nice. Well, that one came in way after the deadline. Jesus. Hader did not get dealt. No. Not that. I mean, unless it happened after. Yeah. So actually. Yeah, just 1 minute ago, it popped up in my timeline that Ross Stripling got dealt to Toronto. Jesus Christ, Toronto. They've made all the moves. They helped their rotation a ton. which is good because they kept having guys get hurt and stuff. And they, Walker going there is going to be good. He's having such a good year. I don't remember, we talk about control and command and all that stuff. I don't remember too many guys coming back and having as much control as Walker has had. It's kind of crazy. So, oh, your dog is hacking? That's not good, Chad. That's it's not as bad as the cat hacking noises, but it can't be good here. All right, so yeah, Ryu, Walker, Rourke, Chase Anderson, Robbie Ray. So they got Ray, Walker, and Stripling. Who roster resources, they've already done the move, but they don't have Stripling in the rotation. They've got Rourke or Chase Anderson over him. What do you guys think of that? I think Stripling would go into the rotation, shouldn't he? I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a nice move. They're all decent moves. Like, Ray could suck more than enough to not end up being anything for the Jays, but they didn't give us anything. They gave us like a 27-year-old journeyman lefty who they're going to use in the Andrew Chafin situation, which I don't know why the Cubs, I don't know what they were doing trading for Andrew Chafin. That's crazy too. So I don't know. Some of these trades don't have a lot of, momentum behind them, but I am glad to see Stripling get out of there. They got to move someone else out of the rotation. I'm thinking, because I added him in a couple of my deep leagues, it'll probably be Chase Anderson, who they move out, another former Diamondback, by the way. So they have half the Diamondbacks' old rotation now, the Blue Jays do, because they've had Walker, Ray, and Chase Anderson. So anybody else? I don't see anybody else, but yeah, so that's that's a weird last move, but it's good. Stripling has been in so many rumors. It's good to finally get him out of there. Yeah. I'm surprised some of these teams laid low. The Cardinals didn't do anything. The Braves didn't do shit. Who else is in a good position that didn't do anything? Let me look at the standings here. I mean, even the Marlins made some moves, obviously, for Starling Marte. We'll get into that when the Welsh gets back. Yeah, but the Cardinals are a game below 500. The Brewers didn't make a move. They're right on the cusp. The Rockies made minimal moves. And I was kind of surprised to see the Diamondbacks sell off so aggressively. So, yeah, Ryu's still the guy there. He if they were in the playoffs right now, he would pitch game one for sure. The Cubs made minimal moves. I mean, they made a couple moves here or there, but they didn't get anything big. In the AL, the Rays did nothing. The Yankees didn't do. The Yankees fans are pissed. If you guys look on Twitter, Yankees fans are upset. Did you just trade someone? Are we good? Did you do?
Yeah. There was a player to be named last player. No. All right. Let's we can pick back up here. Oh, hold on real quick. And then if there's questions that are relevant,
I was answering some of them. We were just talking about like just surprising teams that didn't make a move, which we can talk about when we're done.
Yeah, the Yankees ones definitely. All right, ready? All right. Ba 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 ba. What's our song? Da 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 da.
Oh no, you screwed it up.
Da 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 da. What's that? It's that song that we love. The I go to work. No. No, that's not the song, Bogman. It is. We're playing it. No, it's the one. The I don't want to work. Then a bang on the drum all day.
I don't want to work. I want to bang on the.
That's our Diamondback song. That's our official Diamondback song. When something great happens, there was a good, there was a bad. Diamondbacks became the second big mover.
I don't want to work.
Trade deadline.
That's it. I don't want to work.
That's what I said.
I just want to sit and watch trades all day.
Yeah, that's what everybody that's hanging with us is. They don't want to work, and they're just like, "Could you please just talk about sports? Stop talking about irreverent
things. Go take
things.
phone calls in the middle of a Periscope. What are you doing, you psychos?"
That would be cool if somebody said that. Though. No, that'd be a cool guy.
Well, they would have been gone already. So.
Yeah, quick.
I would have booted them before you came back.
I got a quick trigger finger today. All right, so Diamondbacks made four trades technically. One doesn't matter. Andrew Chafin, who I'm going to give this to Cubs fans. Here is your song, or here is your name for Andrew Chafin. I call him Balls Chafin because he throws balls and it just works with his name. So Balls Chafin was traded to the Cubs, and I like how the Cubs are like, you can have a player, we'll just give you some money. It's like one of those things. It's like you could have what you know, or you could have what's behind door number 3. I just take the money. Take the money, trust me.
It's like the Billy Bean thing. He's like, all right, look, Billy said he'll front the $2 million, but when he sells them for 10, he gets the profit. It's like, all right, fine, I'll do it. I'll front the money. Yeah. So
Balls Chafin gone. The big one, and I don't like this trade, and you and I differ on this trade a little bit. The Diamondbacks sent Starling Marte to the Marlins, and the Diamondbacks acquired Caleb Smith, Humberto Mejia, and Julio Frias, a couple minor league, who cares, pitchers. And so it's essentially Marte for Caleb Smith. What's good and probably a positive for Marte is I think there's a decent more chance at stealing bases. The Diamondbacks offense was flat. You know, when it was on, but it was just overall flat. And, you know, the division, I think, was really getting to them. I think he's going into a spot where I think he boosts up a couple notches. Not that there's, you know, there might be a trade deadline in fantasy that people can do at this last second, but I think the stolen bases could potentially go up. So I think this is like a notch or two positive from Starling Marte going to the Marlins. And I actually think Caleb Smith picks up, if things can get right, you know, back with his buddy Zach Gallen, this could be a positive, except it's not, because the Diamondbacks blow and they're losing games, and Bogman's going to run 300 or walk 250 miles over the next month.
And by the way, I would have preferred to not trade Starling Marte. But with the list of Diamondbacks trades that we've seen recently, I don't hate it comparative to, you know, a lot of the other moves that the Diamondbacks have done. And at least they got something that they need back in a starting pitcher like Caleb Smith. Caleb Smith's got a power arm. So even if he ends up in the bullpen, you know, even if he ended up as the closer, at least he's a decent piece. It's not getting nothing back. So
yeah, I don't think that's well, I don't think the bullpen is the case for him, though. Like that's not where I'm going with it at all.
He shouldn't be, but I'm saying, like, even if he faltered that much, it's still like he's a valuable piece, I feel like, to get back from Marte. And we didn't give a ton to give up Marte. So if you look at the end product, it's not horrific, but it's not a great trade. I would have preferred to have kept Starling for next season, since he was on a club option.
It was annoying. Like the Diamondbacks essentially made the case that they weren't going to pick up a $12 million option on him. Like, why?
They would have picked it up. Yeah.
Like, are they going to half-ass it again? Are you going to go into next year and be like, okay, guys, we're going to try to do this? Did we mention we signed Madison Bumgarner to a completely unrealistic contract based on his performance? We suck. So what are you going to do? What's the point here? Is Bumgarner is trash for them right now. The team still has pieces to compete. If you are even going to toe the line of trying to be competitive next year, you keep Starling Marte without question. There's no reason to have gotten rid of him unless you think Caleb Smith is the next big answer. And I'm not so sure he is. A little walk heavy. I mean, he's barely done anything this year, but last year he maintained just under a 10K per nine. And he's a solid lefty. You know, you can never have enough lefties, and you know him and Gallen's familiarity. But he had a worse.
Can't be any worse than Robbie Ray. So,
yeah, I mean, impressive if you just wanted to play the game for a minute. He does have an 18 walk per nine right now, Caleb Smith does, but it's only because he has
there you go.
He only has 3 innings under his belt. He's not 9 walks per nine like Robbie Ray.
He's one of the 60 guys on the Marlins that had COVID. So
yeah, he's been out for a little bit. So I mean, I think this is decent. I think it's relatively lateral. If anything, it's maybe a worse move for this year for Caleb, simply because you're going to be going up against the Dodgers and the Rockies and the Padres, who are on fire. The Diamondbacks suck ass. So I just don't like this move overall, but this is a plus for Starling Marte. The Blue Jays, as I described it on here, Boggs, I'll just say it how I wrote it. The Blue Jays, they got Robbie Ray, and the Diamondbacks got back a bag of dicks. That's essentially what they said. We will give you money, and we will give you Robbie Ray. Just give us whatever you want. Just send us anything. And they're like, Travis Bergman, sold. We don't care. They weren't picking up the option. They were getting anything they possibly could. Bergman, a 26-year-old lefty reliever, he'll probably be, you know, as they moved away pieces, he'll probably be in there in some fashion. And then the Diamondbacks also traded your guy. This is the crescendo, Bogman. This is the big one. Bogman says farewell to Archie Bradley as they got back Josh Van Meter and Stuart Fairchild. So let's hear the thoughts. How are you doing? I mean, Archie has been your arch nemesis for quite a long time.
I am so glad he's gone. I couldn't be more happy that he's not on the team. Oklahoma guy wasted a first round pick on this dude. His biggest moment for the Diamondbacks. It was a really cool moment, to be honest. Like,
I can tell.
Torrey left him in 2017 in that game against the Rockies, and there were 2 outs. He leaves a relief pitcher in because he wants him to throw the next inning. He hits a 2-run triple. Amazing moment, like so huge. But people forget he gave up the 2 runs that he drove in the next inning. And he's never been great. He's always been just okay as a closer. He's much better when he's got 2 pitches working, but he's worthless when the knuckle curve isn't working, when he's got a blister or a cracked fingernail or whatever, happens with those guys where they just lose a pitch. He's been terrible. And I'm glad that he's not on the Diamondbacks anymore. Go relief for someone else.
I personally, I'm gonna miss him. I always liked him.
He's a nice guy. He's a great person. Like, I know he does a bunch of charity stuff for PCH and stuff like that. So
pants. I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah, he craps his pants. Yeah, that's a funny story. And he's a good locker room guy for the most part.
And also, I mean, he gave us great content. I was going to pull it up, but then I realized it's on our In This League YouTube, and I can't lock out of all my sheets and stuff I've got right now. But he provided one of our Patreon videos where I went to him and asked him if he would sign a ball that I had, and I asked him to inscribe it, and he was like, "I don't usually inscribe it." And I said, "Well, there, Archie. Could you put Go Sooners on it?" And he said, "For that, I will absolutely do it." And then I presented you on video with the Go Sooners Archie Bradley autographed baseball. And it was a great moment. It was a great moment in our friendship, and Archie helped provide that.
Yeah, see, I'm the Yankees guy right now.
You are the guy.
Thumbs down.
Robbie Ray, I just couldn't be more out on Buffalo. I mean, okay, okay, now you're not walking, so you're just giving up homers. All right, good for you, Archie. I have no interest in him whatsoever.
Yeah, it's I mean, look, maybe they'll find something and tweak him and he'll be better. And a lot of the times, going to a different league, and like the same thing I said about Clevenger, you're going to teams that haven't seen you at all this year, because every team is playing in their section this year. So maybe that will help him. I mean, the one thing about going to Toronto is you would say probably can't get much worse than Arizona, but I wouldn't. I'm not taking a flyer. He's terrible.
No, he just maybe he'll get right. Maybe a new spot. Toronto's not. Eno said something interesting where he said, maybe something to look at. Could Archie? He was talking about, which I agreed with, the differential between how there's no separation on like the curve to slider with Archie. So when you become more of a 2-pitch pitcher, it's even harder when you also can't command. But as he noted, it's just like, well, all of the high-end analytical teams didn't have any interest. They didn't take the flyer. Now, maybe they did, and they wouldn't give up, the bag of D's that Toronto would. I don't know. But nobody was interested in saying, this guy's so talented, we think we can get him right. It was a Toronto team that is just looking, they're out here.
Well, I was talking about that a little bit earlier where, they're just throwing darts. They got Walker, they got Ray. Who else did they just acquire? They just acquired Stripling. So,
that's another one. That was like the last one that came in that they acquired. Ross Stripling for 2 players to be named later. So that means those are dudes that aren't on like the 60-man, the 60-man alt squad.
Yeah. So they're just desperate for pitching. They're trying to throw darts at the wall to see what'll stick. Walker had a pretty good game for them yesterday, but Robbie Ray asking, they didn't give up a lot, but asking him to do anything this year might be a little bit too tall of a task. So
yeah, this is just a one spot. I think I'd even said like, I'd be kind of interested to see where he goes. This isn't one. I'm dumping out on him. I don't think Archie's not going to be closing, so he's just more bullpen relief. Maybe he's maybe he's going to be a high variance guy, or if it's like, part of the order, and they I'm not sure he's gonna be a dedicated setup guy. He probably is a setup guy, but they'll probably put him in high leverage is what I'm looking for. He'll probably be more of a leverage guy. They're not going to go to Iglesias. And so out of all the Diamondback trades, nothing they did was a positive for them. Like Caleb Smith isn't a big fantasy positive. Marte was a positive for the Marlins, but it did leave a few spots. So Bogman, let's theorize real quick on the Diamondback spots that open up here. Roto World is already, they think Tim LeCastro takes over as the center fielder. That's an interesting one. He's a high stolen base guy. If that were true, that would be solid, but I don't actually
What about
know.
Marte going and Andy Young playing second?
Yeah, I think that's a well, see, that's an interesting possibility, and that's been theorized. I could tell Marte would go back to center, so you have that great defensive outfield.
Right.
And then at your second base spot, who did you just say?
I said Andy Young. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been DHing Dalton Varsho. That makes a lot of sense. I think it's more likely that Marte's in the outfield more than anything else. So then, what does that give them as far as like a new fantasy? Okay, here's a fantasy option that opens up. Dalton Varsho. That's probably where we should go with it. The one guy that's going to get consistent looks, I think, is going to be Dalton Varsho. He already got a catching spot over Kelly. He can DH. He can play the outfield. I think he can get close to everyday looks. And I guess you got to watch LeCastro, because if LeCastro
John Jay, roster resource has him playing in center field. So honestly, it's kind of a crapshoot, and it's going to be different. Yeah, it's gonna be different. So in Dusty, I would love to see Rojas play, but there's got to be a reason why.
Well, that's the one that pisses me off. I want to see Josh Rojas. Rojas hasn't had a sniff with the team, so what does it matter? All right, let's move through some more of the trades. This isn't a big one, but we're keeping with it because we were just talking about the Reds. The Reds went out after trading for Archie Bradley. They acquired Brian Goodwin from the Angels for, what the hell was it? Wasn't it like, wasn't it Peaky Blinders? Wasn't the Peaky Blinders guy?
Something Naughton, Packy Naughton or something.
Packy Naughty. Oh, Packy Naughty. You sound like an Adam Sandler character.
Tommy want wingy.
That's almost, it's not as good as Lastings Millage. It's one of my favorite baseball names of all time, but Packy Naughty is pretty damn.
It wasn't Lastings Millage. Wasn't he I remember him playing for the Nationals, but I feel like he was originally a Mets prospect.
Oh, he was a Met.
Yeah. Didn't they have like an Oil Can Boyd or something out, like some guy like that also?
An Oil Can Boy. I don't know.
They had a guy like with a nickname Oil Can, I feel like.
Best baseball names of all time.
I know one of those tweets the other day, and it was a screen cap from like, an FS1 game, and it was some guy from the 1870s who got struck by lightning during the game, was revived, and then pitched 9 innings in the doubleheader or something. It was ridiculous.
These names are actually, you nailed it. Number 10 on the list is Oil Can Boyd. That was a actual guy, and it looks like a modern day pitcher. All right, here are the top 10. These are too much for me. The top 10, this is according to ranker.com, of the best baseball names of all time. Number 11 was Buttercup Dickerson. Number 10 was your boy Oil Can Boyd.
Of course.
Number 9, we remember him, Stubby Clapp.
Stubby Clapp, Canadian. I was at Chase Field when Stubby Clapp hit an inside the park grand slam against Team USA.
Wow.
As the 9-hole hitter for Team Canada.
Number 8. This is such a good one. Yeah, Jose in the chat is already ahead of it.
Yeah.
Number 8 is Bud Weiser.
Bud Weiser?
In 1961.
Did it show like the years he played? What was it?
He played in 1961. He played for the Phillies, and his name was Harry Budson Weiser, and his nickname was Bud, so he was Bud Weiser. That's fantastic.
What a dick.
Number 7, we remember Coco Crisp. I would argue that Lastings Millage was better name than Coco Crisp.
I mean, Coco Crisp is just funny because of the cereal.
All right, so we're gonna go completely off the rails here. Number 6 played in 1857, and his name is Jack Glasscock.
I mean, it speaks for itself. We don't need to even comment on it.
It was John Wesley Glasscock. I don't even think like the nickname of Jack makes it.
My name is Scott Plastic Dick, so it's fun.
All right, number 5, bringing us back to a WAB. If you guys want to get on that WAB, that Welsh and Bachman. This is a right fielder in 1870 named Pussy DeBow.
Pussy DeBow. Was he also a mobster? He had to have been a mobster. That's the biggest mobster name I've ever. Pussy DeBow.
It actually is. He played for the Cleveland Spiders. Everyone was talking about the name change. His real name was Charles Alston, but yeah, I mean, this had to be a mobster.
Chucky A. Yeah, no, Pussy Weebelow or whatever his name was.
This one's my favorite. This one is the most absurd. This is absolutely my.
Will you spit it out? God damn.
His name was Cannonball Titcomb.
Cannonball Titcomb?
That's swear to God.
Are you serious?
I'm gonna share it right here. I'm gonna share. You need
Cannonball
to see it.
Titcomb.
Let's see. Is this the list right here? Yeah. There you go. Look at that. Cannonball Titcomb. You can see it, right?
Cannonball Titcomb. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my name is going to be, Bazooka Ball Brush. So that's fine.
I liked your original one where it was the plastic, whatever. His name was Liddell. Yeah, Liddell, and he played 7 years. It just didn't even say like what team he played for. It was in like 1866.
I mean, it doesn't matter. His name is Cannonball Titcomb.
Yeah. The last three, number 3 was Dick Pole. That's a great name.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, he was born in 1950. He played for somebody, I don't know. Number 2 is Johnny Dickshot. I swear to God, played for the White Sox.
All Dick references, all of them.
They probably traded Fernando Tatis Jr. to get Johnny Dickshot. And then the last one, everybody knows, it was already said in the chat, Rusty Nuts for the White Sox and Twins.
Rusty Kuntz. Yeah,
I'm going to call it Nuts.
I think is how you say it.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't even looking at that correctly. Yeah, you're Rusty Kuntz. Rusty Nuts would have been a little bit better. So my vote is still for Cannonball Titcomb.
Oh, Cannonball Titcomb is the best. Yeah, that's the best.
And then added to the list is Pecky Woodheader or whoever was traded by the Angels. What was it again?
Yeah, Packy Naughton.
Packy Naughton. Naughton was traded. Brian Goodwin to the Reds. By the way, just more positive opportunity for Joey Dell with the Angels. I throw this little one out for you off of our Tittycomb stuff. Is look for Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh has been getting.
By the way, when you say Tittycomb, it sounds like a cereal, like honeycomb.
Oh, yeah. Would you have that?
Yeah, like no, I wouldn't because it's cereal. But
you are a cereal. Yeah. It just upsets me how much you don't like cereal.
Well, I don't. Honestly, it's more the milk. I don't like drinking just straight milk or having milk like that. Gives me a stomach ache. I'm not completely lactose intolerant, but I'm I don't know. It's not great when I eat a ton of cheese either. So not the best. Yeah, there's.
I just want to point this out that Captain has joined on screen with you, and this new design will be a shirt and a sticker here shortly. Of you guys can get a little wab in your life for some Welsh and Bog monotony WAP, and then there's a Captain who's going to be joining us on. So
yeah, he's the star.
Just wanted to point that out. All right, back to the trade. So this is another big one. Blue Jays, and maybe a negative if we talked about what happened with Marte. Blue Jays got John VR, and they traded prospect Griffin Conine, who was Jeff Conine's kid. And
God, really? Jesus.
Yeah, Griffin Conine. Big power, huge hole in his bat. That's kind of the problem. But VR goes into a solid lineup that, I don't know, I guess I'd have to look at the numbers, how less aggressive maybe the Blue Jays are as far as running goes, but he takes a spot for Bo Bichette. And Bo Bichette was actually starting to kind of like heal up a little bit, and there's a chance you might see him. Maybe it's more for the playoffs, but they assured themselves really across the board that VR can play, he can play a multitude of spots. He could play the outfield, he can play second base, he can play shortstop. I mean, he's very versatile, and he's continued to get on base. And he steals. And I guess looking right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was doing. The Mariners are number 1 with 37 stolen bases. Marlins are 4 with 27. Blue Jays are 9. So they're still, a top half team with 18 swipes. So hopefully they realize what they have and they run him because he can run, but we'll see. That remains to be seen for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's much of it's not like a crazy knock where you would be like pissed off or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
isn't too much different because it's not like, going from the NL to the AL this year matters a ton because they're both using the DH.
But what it did open up is it opened up weirdly. Asan Diaz decided to come back. He pulled what's his dick?
Markakis.
Yeah, Markakis came back, and Asan Diaz, which almost looks like Marlins like checked in with him before they went and traded VR, that he agreed to come back, and he's going to, he can play their second base spot, and he's going to be back part of that offense. So the Marlins,
they acquired Marte and then trade VR. I don't know. But
Well,
looking at this initial, man, roster resource not big on VR. They got him hitting 8. They've got Kevin Biggio, Randall Grichuk, Travis Shaw, Teoscar Hernandez, Vlad Jr., Telez, Gurriel, then VR, then Danny Jansen. Do you think he's really going to hit 8?
not going to hit behind Danny. Well, I mean, but a lot of teams like to do that whole lead off hitter at the 9 spot, for innings. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe
I don't know. I'm not just so sure about that. On the Marlins side, looking at what the offense looks like, so Asan Diaz comes back to fill that second hole spot. So they're kind of back. They're back to square one as far as the infield goes, and you've got. I mean, Monte Harrison has been just such hot garbage for them lately. Marte takes over center field, and that right and left field spot will be a share between Dickerson, Sanchez, probably Lewis Brinson. And I don't even see Monte on the roster, so they probably optioned him back because he just hasn't been able to, unfortunately, hit anything. The rest of the moves a little bit smaller in nature. You've got A's getting Mike Minor for 2 players to be named later. I believe they were lower. Michael Harris, maybe one of them. I'm completely forgetting now. There were 2 lower A's prospects, but the A's pick up a little bit of help in a rotation that I don't know if they were desperate, because here's what the rotation looks like now. When you have Frankie Montas back, you would have Montas, Manaya, Fires, Luzardo, and Mike Minor. Without him, everybody moves up a little bit. Luzardo and probably Mike Minor, they probably fill out the rotation spot here. But once back, Luzardo, Montas, and Minor's had it's just a half decent depth option. It's someone that the A's can do something with. I think he's streamable. I think he's a streamable option.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. I mean, Mike Minor hasn't been what he was last year. So that's unfortunate. His ERA is up over 5 and everything, but maybe he gets back on track. So cross your fingers for that.
I don't know if we glossed over this real quick. I want to come back to this because, well, not that one. But Henley said, what will happen with VR when Bichette comes back to the roster, which looks like it's been kind of looming. Well, there's a couple spots. If you look at their outfield right now, Teoscar, Lourdes, and Grichuk, none of them are coming off. And they have Rowdy Tellez, who's a DH. So if you want to talk about available spots, I think it's somewhere between Travis Shaw and Lourdes Gurriel. I think he would, because I think someone said third base. VR probably plays a little bit of third base. But here's the thing that you don't want to hear, and this is unfortunately what I'm going to say. I think he becomes a super utility player. And this is why the negative could come into play, because maybe he gets enough every day at bats, but he's going to just start moving around the field.
And honestly, it really depends on what he does early with Toronto. If he hits real well, then they'll say, hey, we traded for this guy and he's going to play every day. He's playing well for us. If he doesn't, then that's really going to affect it. So unfortunately, the next couple days when VR gets in that lineup are really going to determine what he looks like probably for the rest of the season.
Well, maybe. Yeah. But I mean, Bichette plays a really, really big role in if he's going to be going full time, if he's going to be in the roster. If Bichette comes back, VR is going to be a super utility. If Bichette doesn't come back, then we're good to go. And he should have regular full-time stuff. So I think you should be solid there. Cubs made a couple moves, lowish. Jose Martinez they acquired for a couple players to be named later, and then Cameron Maybin. So a little bit of utility, a lot of outfield as Chris Bryant has been struggling. And I don't think any of them are anything to write home about as I'm looking at the roster. Hayward's been Happ has been hitting fantastic. Martinez, they've already slotted in at a DH spot. I mean, if I got regular at bats with Martinez, he's a pickup.
Absolutely. And I don't know, man, are they going to platoon everybody? Is that what the idea is? I mean, Happ has been playing too well. You can't take him out. Schwarber's starting to hit better. And then you have Jason Hayward. So where are these guys going to play? I don't know. Yeah, that's
Martinez is the one with a value. Maybin has no value. It's a defensive. It's a defensive replacement value. That's the only one that's there. The other one, I thought the acquisition of the prospects was pretty interesting. Michael Givens going to the Rockies. Baltimore acquired Taron Vavra, Tyler Nevin, and a player to be named later. I like Vavra. I think he's like a poor ass man's. I hate saying this on here, but like Trey Turner, he's got speed, he's got batting average, there's some power, but he doesn't have the hit tool, not remotely close. Yeah. So take it take my words literal when I say a poor man's, but that's the type of
That
player.
sounds like Ronan Odor to me. So,
but Ronan Odor
hit for average.
No, but Vavra can hit for average. That's what I'm saying. Vavra can hit for average, and he can run, and he's got speed, but it all hasn't clicked. Like, he hasn't tapped in as far as like the power goes. So I'm like, he's a guy I want to bet on in Dynasty, but hold tight a little bit. Tyler Nevin weirds me out because he's got big power, but like, he practically, I think he might have won a batting title in the AFL, and then he can go back and hit like 230. So yeah. I don't know the type of player he's going to fully be. But Michael Givens, though, let's go take a look at what the Rockies depth chart is looking like right now, because I think legitimately he could be given the first shot at closing. Daniel Bard's been pretty good, but I think Givens could step right in and start getting saves. So that would be a pickup for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long, weird, winding road to get someone to close games for the Rockies. They've been terrible. They've tried, Bard has been good there, but I don't think they want him in that spot. That's why they tried Diaz and Estevez and all those other guys in that spot. So I would say Givens is probably going to get the first look at it at least. So I like that deal for them.
Yeah, I dig it for the most part. I mean, Colorado, in investing, but closers have been, they've been iffy. The Angels, they made, they traded off Tommy La Stella, which was a great move for the A's to pick up. I like that one. That would be one I'd be checking out. They acquired Gerardo Reyes when they traded Castro to the Padres. They've just done their sell-off, and they traded Goodwin, so they've just sold off the pieces that don't make any sense for the future play, but they didn't really go out and get to a whole bunch more. Braves acquired Tommy Malone from the Orioles for 2 players to be named later. And then the Mets made a couple trades. They acquired Robinson Chirinos and Miguel Castro and Todd Frazier. So essentially the ones you care about is they brought back Frazier to the lineup, and they got Robinson Chirinos.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, the Mets need some stuff. So little moves
check this
fine
out
here for that.
Would you even believe that? I mean, this is making me laugh. I just went over to Roto World's depth chart. They slotted in Todd Frazier over over Pete Alonso. Over Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso hasn't been hitting well, but I don't think Todd Frazier is going to come in and I don't know. Todd Frazier's they both won home run derbies. Maybe they're the same guy. Well, I'm just saying. But you're not going to take your, your franchise player, which is what they're, I mean, I don't know if Alonso's going to be that for long, but that's what he is right now.
No, Alonso's not going to. I think he's going to just move between. McNeil has been struggling this year. JD Davis has been off injured. I think Frazier just he can play between DH first and third. I don't know if he's a regular every day. I don't think this is a positive. Maybe the big thing is if you go back here, Boggs, and you look at all of these moves, there's a flurry of trades, lots of prospect trades, which I think sometimes the deadline lacks. And that's why, like a emergency prospect one might be good. If you want to dive into, a lot more of my prospect takes on this, it should probably drop tomorrow, but I'll have an emergency prospect one podcast. It's solely focused on just talking about those guys. If you're talking about plus fantasy value from these trades, more than not, it's about the opportunities that opened up for other players than it is any player that got traded. Because like VR questionably could take a hit. Clevenger is lateral. It's a lateral move. Marte moves up a little bit, but you start looking at like, all right, Greg Rosenthal picks up a little bit of value as far as potentially being the closer in Kansas City. Arizona, this is one that we never even covered, and we moved right through. Boggs.
You also call him Trevor Rosenthal.
Okay. Who's Greg Rosenthal?
I
was thinking of Greg Holland. Is why
Greg Holland. Yeah.
Arizona, we never even talked about the closing situation in Arizona with Archie Bradley gone because he was the main guy. Here's what I can tell you. Junior Guerra, horrible. Hector Rondon, even worse for the team. Both of those guys theoretically would be next in line. They're not good, and they have not been good this year. There's 3 guys that interest me. I was telling you offline, I think Taylor Widener has looked great in his stints with Arizona. He's popping that fastball off, double pitches in. I think Widener would be a fantastic choice. Keep Rondon and Garrett in their loser roles and put a guy like Taylor Widener in there because he's dropping 97. That's exactly what I want. I like him as a sneaky one. But Ginkel might be the top option for them to go to. The long-term one to keep a lookout for is Yohan Lopez. Yohan Lopez, he hasn't been put in there at all, so I don't think it's going to happen. So I think Ginkel is probably the top guy, and I would be on the lookout for Widener to potentially get that.
Yeah, I mean, Widener, I hope Widener gets the shot because he just hasn't got it yet. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll see how long Bumgarner is going to be out. But I think Weaver might have to go on the IL again. Also, I mean, he might just blow, but he's also had whatever
badness.
Yeah, just whatever it is going on with him. I don't know what is happening. It's not good, but they could put him on the IL and just try out Widener and see what we get with Caleb Smith when he gets over here and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's true. So okay, so maybe last thing here. I know we got there's some news and notes. If there's anything we want to talk about, we can. I think there have been some prospects that have been relatively exciting. I'll talk about. There's a guy that's getting called up tomorrow. I'm going to do that on Prospect One. But what about the teams that didn't make moves? Because you were saying that we had a little break in between one of the segments here that we've been doing live, where there's people watching and stuff, and Yankees fans are pissed, and whether they're in here or just kind of around, because there were a couple guys that didn't get moved. Lance Lynn is kind of the biggest name that everyone's staring at, that like, wow, we didn't get a deal done with that. The Dodgers were in it. The Yankees were talking at one time. The Yankees were some of the first suitors in on Starling Marte, and proverbially they swung and missed at every front, and the Yankees didn't do anything, where they've got a mountain of injuries. And I guess they are going to take their chances probably with some younger guys like a Davy Garcia, maybe a Clark Schmidt gets an opportunity, and hope that the injured players come back in time. But I know Yankees fans are kind of pissed that they were sitting on their hands.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the Yankees didn't do anything. A lot of people on Twitter upset that they didn't make moves, but I think you mentioned it like before we started recording. The Yankees acquire Giancarlo and Aaron Judge and someone else from the IL. Like, I think that's what they're more waiting on, is their guys just to get healthy. So they'll be okay.
Yeah, but I mean, any other team, like, I'm still shocked that the Rangers, if they were going to play their sell mode, that they were so high. The market was so high for them on Lance Lynn that they couldn't make it happen. It just seems like also Joey Gallo was out there. I wonder what that does universally, like how that's going to affect them. But Lance Lynn not getting traded, that seemed like kind of an odd one to me.
A little surprised. What's the Rangers' record right now? Maybe they're thinking they can make a push. And this is kind of the thing that I was talking about earlier, in the season of, some of these teams are going to stand pat because they think they can make the playoffs. So.
They're not. They're 12 and 21.
I didn't know they were that bad. So.
But I think it was more about value, because they moved off of Frazier. Yeah. And they did something earlier now I'm forgetting about, but like, they clearly are not in any capacity to be competing. But it was about the value of Lance Lynn, that he's still young enough, and the control that they have, that they weren't going to move it for what the market wanted to pay. And frankly, if you look at what the trade market was, we did see a lot of trades, but what did you see that blew your socks off? I think Starling Marte was got for cheap. Mike Clevinger, he was got for cheap. No other team, Clevinger, the Braves were offering, or the Indians were like, we got to get Drew Waters if we're going to have a trade. But ultimately, no massive prospect was done in a trade. It was just about depth.
That's the thing. That's the thing is, I think that we saw a lot of prospects move today, but not a lot of the upper echelon. I mean, is Trammell the highest guy on your list that moved?
Yeah.
And where is he in the list or the range?
He was in like the 60-70 range. Is that correct? I'm trying to think if I'm missing somebody that
it sounds about right. So, just that was the best prospect that moved that I can think of off the top of my head. And, that's kind of weird. So,
but also impact players.
There's just some massive deal. And you can say Clevinger is the massive deal, but it didn't net back a massive prospect.
No, it net back a whole bunch of depth and a team that had more than anybody else. But, that's why guys like Lance Lynn didn't go. And that's probably why there were, other controllable assets that didn't go. I mean, nothing, like, I was still surprised. The most surprising to me still to this moment, even though like, I don't agree with the Clevenger return. I still think the Taylor Trammell one with Austin Nola was kind of shocking to me because they gave up on all these players. They gave up on the development of a lot of really good players.
Well, they
Andres
gave
Munoz,
up the bigger prospect to get the lesser player, which is kind
but
of
even if you take Trammell out of it for a second, like Trammell, a lot of people are down on and done with. But like Andres Munoz had Tommy John surgery. This guy throws 100 plus and could be a closer.
he's going to be their closer.
One of the youngest guys that's ever been in the AFL, 18-year-old that was out there. Ty France, I think, is just like Cronenworth. It's a player that you just need to give regular playing time. And Torrens has gotten a lot of positive buzz as far as a catcher and played some utility. So like that, all of that for a catcher surprised me. Not even the Clevenger one, but you don't see any massive impact. You don't see a team that just says, screw it, we're going all in. There was no, Yankees were not probably willing to move Davy Garcia or Clark Schmidt. No one was willing to do major impact on this weird of a crazy season. And it played out and you can see it. And I don't know how much prospect fun we're going to have here coming soon. I don't know what prospects are going to come up in early September. I think guys that you could look at are a guy like a Brandon Marsh. Maybe a Mackenzie Gore. I'm very questionable on that now at this point. But I think Brandon Marsh is someone to go and potentially pick up. Key Brian Hayes, who I'll talk about, he's coming up tomorrow and Tuesday. I love Key Brian Hayes. Great defender. He's a dude that can stay the rest of the year. He's got big power. It's just he's tentative at the plate, so his hit tool kind of suffers. But outside of that, I'm not sure how many more impact prospects we're going to see with a month left in the season.
Give me a crazy one that you don't expect to come up, but maybe because they're not getting hitting, and maybe it's one of these teams that didn't make a deal. The Cardinals didn't make a deal. The Braves didn't make a deal. The Yankees didn't make a deal. But I mean, they're also sending down Andujar Harjar, guys.
I got two prospects. That
okay.
I think
who are those guys that like, it would be surprising if they got called up, but it kind of makes sense because they didn't make a move.
I think one could be Alex Kirilloff with the Twins. I just think it's time. It could also be Royce Lewis. It could be the inverse. They could go with Royce Lewis because he has flexibility. I think they needed more pitching. The Twins did, so maybe they would look at like a Jordan Balazovic or something like that. But I think if there's any injuries and there was no other depth impact moves, I think Kirilloff could come up. And I'm saying you're just asking me like surprising ones. That was my surprise. I think another one could be Andrew Vaughn. Andrew Vaughn has been working at third. He is a ready now first baseman. His hit tool is, probably as advanced as Spencer Torkelson. I think a lot of people would tell you he could come up right now. I think if there's any injuries or any depth needs, if E5 goes down or anything like that, I think that they could take a look at Andrew Vaughn and get him on the back half of the year. But
yeah,
that's how that goes. So, all right, what do you think? I think that's good. Next episode, we've got Mike Curlin joining us on that. It's a little different. This is different in style of what we normally do. Right. Because usually it's very heavy news oriented and breaking down players. We do have some players we want to break down.
I have one thing before we go.
Okay.
Did you do any trades for trade week? And if so, well, what did you do?
Ooh, I was down to the wire on multiple. You know what? Bogman, I don't think I did any trades during trade week. I did them prior to trade week. I talked about some. I had some literally going up until the last few minutes of the trade deadline, and they just fell apart. So I never got any other trades done. I actually hit the wire a lot more. I was very aggressive on spending money on guys like TJ Antone, who looked pretty damn good and is throwing 97.
I saw you talking about him on Twitter.
Yeah, I was talking about him on Prospect One, and that, I've been spending in that front on rookies that people are kind of discounting, especially 12-team leagues. Like Ryan Mountcastle has been sitting out on the wire in a couple leagues we've been doing, and in Yahoo, he's got outfield and shortstop eligibility, and all the guy's been doing is hitting. He had a multi. I think it was the first multi-hit game of his career he had against the Blue Jays over the weekend. So I'm picking up guys like him. I would be looking at Key Brian Hayes, and I did that in favor of trades. And guys like Michael Givens, who might be sitting out there, instead of going and paying prices, people want you to pay for Nick Anderson, who's no guarantee. Go pick up a Michael Givens. But what about you?
I did two in the same where my team is terrible. And these were both offered to me because I wasn't, this year's been weird. And this weekend was bad for me too. I was working on that big football project. And we're doing all of our slow drafts and all that good stuff going on. So, but got offered, Keston Hira, who is a 24th round draft pick, and we keep him 24th in the slot. 24th out of 26. Yeah. And offered him for Brad Hand. So that was an instant
You got Hira for Brad Hand?
For Brad Hand. Guy needed a closer, and that's
Right.
that's the beauty of picking up closers in some of those leagues too.
That's what kills me about dynasty leagues is the price people put. I mean, I know I have a difficult time between win now and the value. I can never do something like that. I would never. I would sacrifice the championship, the theoretical championship between doing that. There's no way.
The other one is a little more questionable, but I went, God, I think I got to take this one too. I picked up Dylan Bundy off of the wire like in the first week in that league, and I got offered Adalberto Mondesi for him, who is a dead last round keeper. So what if I would have been offered either one of these guys in their second round picks, something like that, so I have to keep them at a 2. I think I still would have done the Hero one. I probably wouldn't have done the Mondesi one. I would have maybe stuck with Bundy just to see if he's good through the end of the year, maybe trade him in the season or something, because Mondesi's been so terrible. But last round pick and 24th round pick out of 26 rounds, I think those were just kind of, I have to take these. So
trade deadline the 31st for a lot of people. So get those trades in as you can. Coming up later in the week, Mike Curlin is going to be joining us. Our boy Mike Curlin putting a lot of good work in. He does his live streams and he's got a whole multitude of podcasts he does. He's going to be joining us. We're doing a lot of breakdowns, probably some player debates. I want to talk about Jesse Winker. We want to talk. You'd pulled up some really interesting stuff when we're looking at leaders in the hard and low and medium contact percentages and stuff like that. We'll also go through some more waivers. We'll probably be a little bit more extensive on waivers. And we will have we'll probably have a lot more of a clear image of the overall outcome over having a couple days behind us of what the trades look like and what teams are going to be putting out there. There are multiple teams that their rosters could start to get funky. The Mariners could get funky. I want to see what happens with Ty France. I want to see who benefits in Arizona, if it's just going to be Varsho or LeCastro, and what some of those rotations look like.
How mad are you going to be when Taylor Clark is in the rotation for the rest of the year?
I don't like it. I don't like it. Give me Duplantier, please. Please, please, please. But say bye to Archie Bradley, Bogman. Do you want any last words?
Goodbye, Archie Bradley, and good riddance. See ya.
That's sad. That's sad. All right, guys. You can check us out on Patreon if you want to check out the prospect list, which is updated at the first of the month. A good time to sign up then. And you can subscribe to the podcast anywhere the podcasts are. Find us on Twitter at Is It The Welsh, at Bogman Sports. And we will be back with you again on Thursday with Mike Curlin. So peace out now. Bye-bye.
See ya.